I'm Ray West, and I have been the county judge here since 1992. I was born in Fort Worth. I come from a family that focuses on education. My mother and father both educated, college degrees, my mother with a master's degree. And of the 4 kids, I think we hold 8 degrees, postgraduate and graduate degrees. So education is very important to us. When I was 6 years old, my father decided to leave the corporate world. He was a chemist for a dairy company. And so rather than homogenize milk, he decided to produce it. So he bought a dairy very near where he was raised, just about 2 miles northeast of Mabee. That's where I was raised. Since my mother was a teacher at BISD, I went to school at Brownwood from the 7th grade on through high school. In 1972, I joined in union with my wife, Jane. Jane, if you'll stand up, I'm going to make you stand up. She is my better half. I've written all this stuff down, and I don't have my bifocals, and it's kind of hard to read. As far as why I'm running for office, I think it is imperative, it is imperative that the county court in this county have an attorney serve as the county judge. The reason for that is, and I didn't make this up, it was this way when I took office. I spend much more time on the bench than I do administratively, just a matter of necessity. And if a non-lawyer is elected, the caseload that I carry will be sent to 2 courts, the district court, county court at law, who are already booked solid. And it's impossible for a non-lawyer to understand the complexities of the cases that I hear. I just finished a 2-day jury trial on a will contest, and that was followed up by a 1-day bench trial on another probate matter. So those cases are going to go to county court at law or district court and interfere with their busy docket. I am conservative by nature. I'll be honest with you, I really don't think a judicial election should be partisan. It should be based upon the person. Thank you.
Dr. Lilly. Oh yeah, thanks for showing up.
Thank you all for coming. I apologize walking in the class doesn't let out to 11:50, and I didn't want to short them on their education. So, my name's Paul Lilly, and I am running for county judge of Brown County. I thought long and hard. I didn't have much notice, only about 4 weeks to prepare something, so I hope y'all don't mind if I wing it. I figured that would go over like a lead balloon. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. My parents and my grandparents both raised me with certain values, and key among those values are that you always do the right thing regardless. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong, no matter who you are or what position you hold or what your name is. And I've always tried to stay true to that. And I also believe in true leadership. And leadership is different than management. True leaders, as you know, inspire others. They set the direction. They make us want to be better people. They make us want to do a better job. Pardon me, I ran up the stairs. And with the limited 3 minutes that I have here, I can say that when I sat back and looked over the course of the last 2 years at the direction the county was going and the office of county judge, I didn't see that was being met, in my opinion. I mean, no disrespect, I just did not believe that was that the office was living up to those values. So I decided, perhaps after much prayer, I felt that the Lord wanted me to try and do something about that, so I've decided to run for the position of county judge. I have a whole lot of things on my platform and all that I'd love to visit with you about, but just 3 minutes I just can't do that. So that's who I am in a nutshell, and I would appreciate your support, and I would love to visit with you individually.
Thank you. Next questions are for Judge West and Dr. Lilly. Judge West first. Do you have an official position for veterans that suffer from PTSD and how they should be handled in the courtroom?
There is no official position by the Commissioner's Court. We recognize that PTSD is a very real and tragic condition. It is suffered by men and women who have heroically defended our country. There was some material given to the Commissioner's Court. No action was requested. It was simply given to us for our review. I will say this, that when a defendant is charged with a criminal offense, whether he is indigent and has a court-appointed attorney or otherwise, that attorney may file a motion with the court for a psychiatric or psychological evaluation. And if PTSD is determined, appropriate action is taken by the judge. So there are protections for those defendants who suffer from PTSD. This county can't afford a PTSD court.
Dr. Lilly?
Well, as you can imagine, I completely disagree with the county judge. I am, as a psychologist, wholly and completely in favor of a veterans court for those who are found after evaluation to be afflicted by this unfortunate disorder. And I would like to see through several grants that are available out there that would pay for, wholly and completely pay for the cost of us establishing a court like that here in the county. And I don't need 60 seconds to tell you that I'm wholly in favor of that, and my position is not going to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge West, explain the way you understand the statement, leadership by example.
As Brown County Judge, leadership by example is primarily the mentoring of young lawyers to better understand the law, whether it be probate, estate administration, guardian, or juvenile law, so they may be better lawyers. When I was a young lawyer, I relied upon the judges before whom I practiced, as well as the experienced lawyers with whom I was associated. That example is best set by having a thorough understanding of the law, courtroom decorum, procedures, and most importantly, an abiding respect for the law. In Commissioner's Court, I conduct those proceedings in an orderly fashion, not permitting unnecessary distractions nor allowing discussion that wanders from the agenda. I believe that has a positive effect on the commissioners, the public who are present at Commissioner's Court, and the person or persons making the presentation to Commissioner's Court. Since I took office, every Commissioner's Court meeting has begun with an invocation.
Thank you, Judge.
As I remain county judge, that will continue.
Dr. Lilly, same question.
Well, I had the deep honor of serving as the Director of Government Affairs for Hood County, which is Granbury County, just under 100,000 for 2 years, and I served as the right-hand man to then Judge Andy Rash. So I got to see a true example of leadership in the role of a county judge. And as the fathers intended when they wrote the Texas Constitution, the county judge is supposed to be far more than just a judicial role. He's also the chief executive officer for the county. And therefore, good leadership in that role would be an individual who provides a vision for the county, who works with the various entities within the county, and a true leader that instills respect and has passion for the position and passion for the community. And will also, of course, carry that same over into the judicial aspect, which is only one portion of what a county judge's actual duties are. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge West, next question. There seems to be a lot of mistrust between the people and the county. How can you remedy this?
minute until I start talking. I must disagree that there is a lot of mistrust between the people in the county. If there seems to be mistrust, this is a product of the dissemination of misinformation by a few people with a malicious agenda and the willingness of a few disreputable mass media outlets and social media to feed on it and focus on it. But there is freedom of speech, and I'll always defend their right to say what they want to say. When I talk to individuals on a one-on-one basis, they're surprised when I tell them the entire story. It's simply a lack of communication between the Commissioner's Court and the public. As far as a solution, we should occasionally hold a Commissioner's Court meeting in the evening so that working people can attend. Our meetings are in the morning, especially when a particularly divisive issue is to be decided. I've always made myself available to the public, and I always will.
Dr. Lilly?
Thank you. Well, I have traveled all around the county, and I will continue to do so over the next month, and I have heard, I would say 80% is expressing that they have some sort of mistrust or some sort of concern. There's no easy fix for that. As you know, as a police chief for the final 15 years of my career, I went into cities who had the exact same problem, and I tried to help them turn that around and try and create those bridges of trust. And I will do the same for Brown County. I refer back to what I said. I was raised by my parents, my grandparents, and the bottom line is, what is right, what is wrong. I don't care who you are, I don't care what your name is, or what position you hold. And you could expect me to carry that out if I'm elected as your county judge. Thank you.
The next questions are for Judge West and Dr. Lilly, and because we have roughly 25 minutes left, I'm going to start integrating some of the questions in with some of the questions that were already written out. And these are going to be two separate questions for you gentlemen. First, Dr. Lilly, this is a rebuttal from your PTSD statement. It says, what about people who suffer from PTSD and it is not combat related?
Well, certainly there are those who also are afflicted with this position that are not veterans. And I'm not certain as to whether or not there's grant funding available for non-veteran PTSD issues. I haven't researched that, but I will certainly check into it, whoever asked that question, because that would also be a priority for me. I just mentioned the PTSD because it was the question asked with regard to the veterans, and I know for a fact that there are grants out there that would make that zero cost to the county.
Thank you. Judge West, what do you say to those who are concerned about voting for you in light of investigations?
This is really going to be an answer to number 10. 8 years ago and 4 years ago, respectively, I was accused of wrongdoing in two separate matters. One case was referred to the Texas Attorney General's office for investigation, and the other was a civil lawsuit filed in federal court in San Angelo. By 2014, the Attorney General's office had absolved me of any wrongdoing, and the lawsuit was decided in my favor in the Federal District Court of San Angelo. And that judgment was affirmed on appeal by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in 2015. Now, on the eve of the primary election, the complainants are reasserting their accusations through two mass media outlets that seem desperate for a sensational story, not to mention the social media. Hearing the accusations the second time is painful to my family, and I'm tempted to publicly take issue with the complaints with those social media participants. One of the fundamental principles of judicial ethics is that a judge is not supposed to engage in conversation.
Thank you, Judge.
Compromise. You can't answer it in 1 minute. You cannot compromise the integrity of the court. Therefore, I can categorically deny all of the allegations against me. That's backed up by the highest investigatory body in the state and the next to the highest court in the land. And I am not going to violate my ethics by entering into some sort of argument or debate online or with any kind of Facebook, or any other.
Thank you,
way
Judge. That was-
that is not.
Thank you, Judge. That was an extra 30 seconds, so each of the gentlemen up at the table will be given an extra timekeeper, an extra 30 seconds on the question of their choice. Judge West, what makes you a better candidate for county judge than Dr. Lilly?
What question number is that? Is that off of a page?
That's something that somebody asked from the audience.
I think what makes me a better candidate than Mr. Lilly is my 25 years of experience as county judge, 40 years in practicing law, my dedication to this county. I'm a native of this county. After law school, I spent 2 years in Amarillo with a law firm, but my wife and I chose to come back here to raise our family. We are invested in this county. I have the ability or the propensity to listen to the sides, whether it's in a lawsuit or whether it's in commissioner's court, and I don't make decisions based upon personal desires. This is the only office I've ever run for. I understand the requirements and limitations of county government. I've served on a state board and a state agency, and I understand the interplay between state and local government, and that is imperative.
Thank you, Judge. Dr. Lilly, this question from the audience. What qualifications do you have that think that you can be county judge?
Sure, and I'm pleased to answer that. It gives me the opportunity. I just spoke with the Texas Association of Counties just a few weeks ago, and they categorically told me that an overwhelming number of county judges in Texas are not attorneys, that the position was never created to be held by an attorney, and this is coming from the Texas Association of Counties. There are a relatively very small few cases that I would have to defer to a judge who is a licensed attorney. Those would be juvenile cases, but not all the juvenile cases, just some that meet very specific qualifications. The rest of it, or the rest of the duties of county judge is far beyond the judicial bench. The county judge is the chief executive officer, as I mentioned earlier, of the county. He should be meeting with at least weekly with every elected official in the county to find out what he can be doing to help them do their job better, to foster more positive relationships out in the community with the chambers, with the municipal development districts and all. These are the ideas that I see.
Thank you, Dr. Lilly. Yes, sir. Judge West and Dr. Lilly. Judge West first. We have a serious drug problem in Brown County. What is one thing that could do to help this problem?
Involvement by the sheriff's office. I believe we have lost the interlocal drug task force. That was effective. Drugs are going to be here until the people who are selling them and using them are gone. Prosecution of those cases is essential. And that goes back to the county judge. If we don't have 3 record courts, then how is the felony court going to take care of all of the drug cases that it has when he's having to handle cases that would otherwise be handled in county court? The fact that there is a large number of drug cases underscores the need for 3 record courts in this county. We're unique. That's one of the problems we have. Too many cases like that.
Thank you, Judge.
My turn?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, the answer, quite frankly, is to find every way that we possibly can to assist our sheriff and his sheriff's department. Is the sheriff here? We have a fantastic new sheriff, Vance Hill. I support him 110%, and I will continue to do so after I become county judge. If he tells me he needs something, I will move heaven and earth to try and find it. If we don't have the money for it, I'll search high and low for every kind of grant that I can, so that the citizens of our county benefit from it, while hopefully not having to exceed our budget. The sheriff is the chief law enforcement official of the county, and I think perhaps he's better to answer that question for us. My answer in a support role would be just to be there and answer the phone when the sheriff calls and try and get him anything and everything that he needs.
For Judge West and Dr. Lilly. First, Judge West, What is the single most important trait that makes a good county judge?
Willingness to listen. That's the most important trait. You must listen to every side before you make a decision, whether the decision is in county court or whether the decision is in commissioner's court. You've got to listen to each side. The concept is reasonable minds can differ. Just because there may be polarized positions doesn't mean that there's not some room in the middle. So listen and then make a decision.
Thank you, Judge. Dr. Lilly?
Thank you, Mr. Phelps, and if I can, I'd like to invoke my 30 extra seconds on the end of this one, if you don't mind. For once, I'm in agreement with Judge West. I also believe that lending an ear is one of the most valuable and most appreciative tools that you can have in any public office, but especially that of county judge. I do believe also in leading by example, and for people to be able to point to the county judge for their children and say, I want you to be just like that, like that man or that woman, whoever holds the office. And I would hope that any public official would aspire to that same level. But the county judge also needs to instill respect throughout the community. He needs to provide a vision for that community and a direction for the county to go as a whole. And you do that also by getting everyone to the table and on the same page and all working together, an old analogy, rowing in the same direction, if you would. Now, the last 30 seconds, I would like to say for my experience to hold the office of county judge, I'm not wholly uneducated in the field of criminal justice, as you can imagine. I have a bachelor's degree in both government and law, and I have a master's degree in criminal justice from Texas State University, and that's an emphasis in criminal justice administration. And I'm also very fortunate to hold a doctorate in both psychology and criminology. So with that, I'll close. Thank you.
Thank you. Last question for Judge West and Dr. Lilly. Judge West first. What is your position on big government?
I am adamantly opposed to any government overstepping its authority. The Texas Constitution provides that unless a power is specifically granted to a county by the Constitution or legislation, the county may not act. So it's difficult for the big government concept to be applied to a county. Now, from the standpoint of taxation, big taxes, I'm committed to a budget for the county that provides the necessary services to our citizens, maintains the infrastructure of the county, and that is adequate to comply with the mandates by the state and federal governments that are not commensurately funded by the state and federal governments. Also, I'm committed to looking forward each budget year to our future needs and providing the funding necessary to prevent repetitive Band-Aid spending to maintain the status quo of our infrastructure. And that was why we did the McKinstry project.
Thank you, Judge. Dr. Lilly?
Well, I can sum up my answer very clearly. I've always been a fan of Ronald Reagan, and some of you know where I'm going with this. I even have it on my campaign webpage. President Reagan was famous for saying, big government is not the solution to our problems. Big government is our problem. And I believe that to be true at the federal, state, and local level. I'm a stout believer in individual property rights. What you are able to do on your own property outside of the city limits and city ordinance is your business. I'm a huge proponent of economic growth. If you choose to use your property for that particular reason, then I believe that government should do everything it can within its limited powers, especially at the county level, to assist you with that, rather than just try and stand in your way and hinder you from accomplishing those goals. So big government, in my opinion, at all three levels is the problem.
Thank you.